to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. I want to start by talking to you about something that you probably know about me, but that is I believe in getting in the room. As we're talking, I just got back a couple of weeks ago from the Business of Interiors Community Summit in London, and it is and was one of those events that remind you why being there, why being in person matters. You know, I've got Nagara in my head all the time going, you really have to get on a plane again? Why do you have to go and do that? And I'm always saying to him, it's different. You need to be there. The things happen when you're there. And if you're listening to this in real time, July 2026, I'm probably on the plane right now to Las Vegas Market, okay? Because I do practice what I preach. And I want to tell you, trade shows and industry events are one of the most comfortable, low-pressure ways to get in the room, to start to get into rooms, right? You can make connections, learn, and you end up rubbing elbows, meeting friends, people who are a little further down the road than you are, and they can give you some help and advice. And also what's really fun and cool is when you meet somebody that you're a little further down the road than they are, and you feel really good about giving them the help and advice, okay? And when you're at the bigger trade show events, right, the shopping is terrific, right? You get to see, sit test, all the things. But it is the rooms that you get access to, the people that you meet at the panels and the keynotes and the conversations that happen in between. That's what brings the energy and momentum to you, your business. And that's where, when you have energy and momentum and you have a positive outlook and you're really learning the little bits and tricks along the way, that the profit can start to multiply in your business. So these are some of the many reasons why I'm very excited to welcome Megan Reilly to the show today. Megan happens to be the co-founder and owner of WestEdge Design Fair. This is a trade event that she launched on the West Coast back in 2013 after she spent years running the Architectural Digest Home Show in New York City. Before that, Megan was at the Merchandise Mart and served there as the marketing director for both NeoCon and the AD Design Show. So she has been on every blasted side of the trade show industry as an exhibitor, an organizer, and a media partner. Krista Cooper, if you remember from the very, very, very first couple of months of the podcast, she had been telling me from the beginning about WestEdge. And I am so excited that I finally got to sit down with the woman behind it. And what she starts to explain today is how you, no matter what level you are at, brand new or 20 years in, can stop treating trade show events as simply shopping trips and start using them as real business development tools. Okay? Now, I have to mention to you the Boardroom for Creatives, because I've spent years going to these events and building my personal Rolodex of people, the people I call on when I need very specific answers. You're not on a plane every 2 weeks like I am, and maybe you haven't been in some of the rooms that I've been so fortunate to be in, but you still can get access to the best of the best through the Boardroom for Creatives. Okay? Because I realized when I was creating this about a year ago that when I have a problem in my business, a finance question, a leadership question, a marketing question, I pick up the phone and I call the exact right person. And within a short 30 minutes, I usually have my answer and I'm back at work. So I have had this luxury and this privilege, and it hit me Not everybody has this. Not everyone has spent 40 years building these relationships and going in and out of these rooms and has a trusted expert for every category of every problem. And if that's you, that you don't have this mental Rolodex or digital Rolodex yet, then I built the Boardroom for Creatives for you. Every board member was personally selected by me, people I trust enough to send my own chairman of the board clients to. You bring them a problem, they will help you solve it and give you an answer. Go to boardroomforcreatives.com and book your session. That's boardroomforcreatives.com. All right, super excited to introduce you to Megan. Hey, Megan, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business.
Thank you for having me.
So, Megan, I'm super excited because I have been hearing about WestEdge Design Fair since the second month I started this podcast. And I have never been. Krista Cooper was on the podcast way, way back in the beginning. And I just think that lady's one of the smartest ladies on the planet. And she's a big fan of WestEdge Design Fair. So here we are. We're here with you, the founder of it. And I would love to know from you, what is the passion behind it? What is the reason for the WestEdge Design Fair? What does it do in the design space that maybe, you feel like it fills a gap that other conferences or events in our industry don't fill? Tell me about it from your standpoint.
Yeah, well, we launched in 2013, and I'll give you a little bit of context. Before that, I was in New York City. I was the marketing director for the Architectural Digest Design Show, which I'm sure some of your audience remembers that event in New York City. And we were getting daily conversations from our exhibitor base in New York. When are you going to do something like this on the West Coast? We're seeing so much opportunity there. We're getting orders. We're involved in projects, residential, commercial, hospitality. So it became such a frequent conversation. And so we started WestEdge largely as a result of those conversations and that demand. So, automatically launching in 2013, we knew we had 20 exhibitors from our New York days who wanted to do something with us. So that made it a little bit easier. It's always a little daunting to start your own company, and especially a big production. I was not living in LA at the time. So I started traveling quite a bit to the West Coast, and we really saw the need. We always kind of follow our community. If they're saying, hey, I'm doing a lot of business in North Texas, or San Francisco is on fire, that's a good indicator. Listening to those touch points and hearing where design brands and our exhibitors are getting a lot of orders in business. So we launched in 2013. There was really nothing like it. The California market speaks for itself. It's huge, as we know.
Yes.
And we had run the numbers, all of the major trade organizations when we looked at the demographics. So we knew there was something here in Southern California. And we knew there was no high-end interior design show. There were some other events that kind of focused on the builder sector and prefab market, but that was really the driver. And we've been running it every fall, minus the pandemic years. We had to go quiet during COVID, like so many did. We rebooted it in 2023, coming out of the pandemic. And we run it at a venue called the Santa Monica Barker Hangar, which is an old airplane hangar. So hence edgy. It's a very raw industrial venue. We like to say we're the anti-trade show. And there are a lot of brands who haven't quite figured out how to crack the LA market or the West Coast market. International brands often look to the East Coast, New York or Miami, but more and more eyes are kind of focusing on LA with the Olympics coming here, the World Cup here. So we've had a really successful growth pattern. We're boutique in nature, but we really cater to the high-end furnishings and interior design segment and bringing buyers together with sellers. That's the platform. But we like to say we're where connection meets commerce. So at the end of the day, we want to ensure there's an ROI for our exhibitors, but also, of course, for our attendees to really get something of value by attending, whether that's new product resources, undiscovered brands, the community, the connection, the educational opportunities, and so on.
Okay. So a couple things went through my mind, Megan, when you were saying that. It's like I'm been a salesman my whole life and I do sales training and everything. And one of the things I always say, if somebody keeps asking you if you're selling a thing, figure out how to sell that thing to them, right? So you're here in New York running the Architectural Digest show and you're consistently getting these vendors and these big brands saying, when are you going to provide this on the West Coast? Like, we need this. So good for you. Daunting, your word, and I agree. I can imagine that must have been scary. My question is, you mentioned, I don't know the exact word you use, high end brands, whatever the characterization was. If I'm a designer listening, Megan, who is this for? Does it matter if I'm entry level? Does it matter if I'm luxury 20 years? Are the brands all up and down the scale? Or if I'm not quite specifying the higher end luxury brands yet, is it aspirational for me to go, but maybe not practical?
I think it's always practical. So, obviously, I'm a huge fan of in real life, right?
Mm,
That's my career, that's my business. It is a high-end, more luxury targeted product base.
okay.
However, we have brands that, paint brands, some furniture brands, some accessories brands who cater to all sorts of the design segment. So, we have 150 exhibitors. The
Mm.
audience is both design trade professionals, but we do have an open to the public component. And
Oh,
so our
interesting.
audience is 70% design trade professionals. And then if you're a homeowner and you wanted to come in and get design ideas or, get aspiration, inspiration, you could buy a ticket. Most of the homeowners come on Saturday. And I will say, the wildfires that occurred last year here in Southern California
Mm.
really have made the homeowner community more educated. So many of our community is in the process of rebuilding a home due to that tragedy. So many of them are working with an interior designer or an architect already, and that is exactly the kind of homeowner that we want. But I would 70% is design trade, and that's really our focus. We have a main stage where we host different panel talks and educational programs, and most of those programming elements are geared for the design trade,
Yes.
emerging designers as well as established designers.
Yeah, I was looking at that in addition to all of these 150 plus brands that a designer could familiarize themselves with. I saw all the educational panels there. There's a half a dozen or more panels with some really top shelf names, I'm sure, that are delivering great conversation, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We work with 26 media partners to promote the show, and a lot of our content is incorporating, the editors of our media partners. We also work with Convo by Design, who I know you're familiar with,
Yeah,
Josh.
Josh
So
is great.
he
Yeah.
co-produces our talks, and everything from business development programs to, aging and place, health and wellness, which is a big conversation point these days. And, trying to help designers understand how to leverage their business, how to grow their business, and also how to stay up to date. The world is changing so quickly and our industry is changing quickly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. Okay. Now, one of the things that you put down in your intake form, which just grabbed my attention right off the bat, Megan, I have to say. And I'm going to read it. You said, I want to explore with your audience how interior designers can use real life events and trade fairs as intentional business development tool rather than just shopping trips. I want to talk about how to build meaningful relationships with exhibitors and brands and how to get involved beyond attendee status. And so I was just like, I take one conversation like that, please. So
yeah.
talk to me about that. Because so many designers, of course, they passively receive the education at the different panels, whether it's, WestEdge Design Fair or High Point Market, whatever it might be. And then there is a lot of just roaming and exploring. And of course, there's there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of designers that will also use the opportunity to make an appointment with the brand and to have the conversation about their trade terms or whatever it is. But I think mostly it is sort of like a shopping trip, right? It's an observational event. And it seems like you have some good strategies for moving it, that's valuable, but moving it beyond that value. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so I'm guilty of it myself. I attend a lot of events, a lot of the trade shows that you go to as well. And sometimes I don't have the time to do my homework and I
Hmm.
just show up and it's
Yeah.
about discovery. But the more intentional one can be in really navigating an event like this, the more ROI they're going to get. So I think that, looking at an exhibitor list, even reaching out to certain exhibitors ahead of time so that you're memorable when you do show up.
Mm.
So many of the design trade that we're working with are looking to establish better relationships with brands and manufacturers, whether that's to be specifying those brands and learning about them, or perhaps to develop some strategic partnerships and ambassador sort of things. So
Hmm.
the more that one can really reach out ahead of time, plan their visit, navigate it well, and also really think about, is there an opportunity to get involved with the show itself from a business development perspective? We, like you mentioned, we've got a whole panel, a whole programming series where we are looking for thought leaders and industry insiders. We also have opportunities at the show where we're trying to put a spotlight on interior designers to showcase their work. We launched a concept last year of designer vignettes, focusing on emerging interior design trade professionals. So things like that, I think it's always good to, it might seem daunting again to reach out to an organizer like this or a big trade show, but I say it with our exhibitors too. Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? If you're reaching out, even if I've not heard of you, oh, well, yeah, let me keep you in mind for something down the road. Or, I know a brand who's looking for a focus group. Would you want to be part of a brand's focus group? Would you want to do this? Would you want to do that? So there are ways to be more intentional about the experience, and rather than aimless wandering, which there's something good about that sometimes. There's the
Right.
discovery. We want you to know
Yeah.
what you're coming for, but of course, we want you to discover things that, you turn around an aisle and you're floored. Oh, I had no
Yes.
idea this was there. So it's
Right.
a little bit of both, but I think so often people just show up looking to be entertained or
Yeah.
inspired rather than doing their homework and really thinking about, how can I make this worth my while and make sure that I'm memorable. LuAnn, I read something recently that reach gets you seen, but a room gets you remembered. And I think that's
Mm.
really important. So many of us are getting to know one another on social media and projecting something on social media, but getting in the room
Yes.
is incredibly memorable and incredibly important in this day and age.
Okay. Now, when I think about from this, and I wrote down design vignettes because I know my designers are thinking, wait, what is that? Okay, so we're going to talk about that.
Mhm.
But I also want to just pick that other part apart first too, where being intentional about pre-appointments, and to your point, if you reach out to a vendor or a brand, and then when you actually show up for the appointment, it's like the two, now we say that's 7, or they say 11 now, contacts until you're remembered, right? But there's 2. Here's the email, here I am in person. The 2 reasons to do this, number one is to have a better relationship with that brand in just fulfilling your design products, right? Like, if you are a personal face to a sales rep or a VP of sales for a particular brand, and everything is fine. But when something really goes haywire with an order, a person knows you. That's big, right? Do you find that showing up over and over again when you talk with the designers and the brands who have gone out of their way to not just stand in a booth and go, yeah, I have an account with you, but have that conversation, right?
Absolutely. This industry, like so many industries, is so much driven by relationships. And so to have that personal contact is key for issues like you just described. I also hear it from designers who are involved with showcase houses who reach out to me
Mm.
saying, hey, do you know somebody at this company, or do you have any ideas for a wallpaper brand that might want to get involved with my showcase house? So the more that you have those personal relationships, the more it translates not only to your projects, but your own business development and things that you might get involved with, where you kind of are able to give back to a
Yeah.
brand and bring them into your marketing plan, or as your career elevates,
Yeah.
take them with you in that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like because the time to ask for, in-kind services for a showcase isn't the first time you meet somebody, right?
Absolutely not. Ideally not.
I mean, it's one thing if you, the connector of the designer and the brand, is aware of a brand, is like, give me somebody, we'll give it away. We want to get our product out there. But that's less likely, right? It's more
Yeah.
likely it's going to go to somebody that's got a relationship. And so, okay. And then the other thing you mentioned, obviously, the opportunities for maybe brand ambassadorship or opportunities for licensing deals and so forth down the road. And I have done, I can't tell you, probably a half a dozen podcasts over the years surrounding how do I get a licensing deal? Somebody who has one, what do they backtrack it to? And I don't think there's ever been a single one. If I've talked to a dozen people that have had a licensing deal, whether it's on the show or in real life, that has said, yeah, it just came out of the blue. They called me and I said yes. It's always from a relationship, right? And you could be a brand new designer or 3 years in, and you start that relationship, and now all of a sudden you're 5 or 8 years in, you've got some chops, and now you're poised, but you've got the built in background with that company, right?
Yeah, it goes both ways. I've had stories where the designer has been the pursuer and
Mm,
really kind of stayed persistent, and vice versa, where the brand has somebody on their radar. So
yeah.
we've had several success stories like that, where we've included interior designers to curate a lounge or a feature area. And all of a sudden, I hear 6 months later, a year later, oh, I'm now working with this brand or that brand. And those are exactly the sort of success stories that we relish.
Okay, so that goes back to that designer vignette area. Is that what you're
hmm
talking about?
Yeah, we've got
So,
a couple different things. So the designer vignette, I'll get into that in a second. But we've had, for example, Kim Gordon designed our main stage last year. Julie Ireland designed our central lounge, the Connoisseurs Club. The year before that was Carrie Kelly. So we really pull interior designers into different feature areas to work with a collective of brands. And then last year, we partnered with Habitat for Humanity. They launched a Rebuild LA campaign, again, to try to get homeowners back into their home after the
mm,
wildfire. And we created a concept called Rebuild Rooms. And it was a really fun idea. It was a little bit about upcycling, a little bit about a small space, big style concept. You might know that Habitat for Humanity has restore brick and mortar stores around the country. So
mm,
it's kind of their gently used furniture. They get oversupply from big brands that you and I are familiar with, or I can donate something. If I'm moving or renovating a room, I can donate to Restore. So we
okay.
incorporated 8 designers to each take a small 10 by 10 and put their own mark on it. But they had to go to a restore and they had to purchase with a stipend a piece of gently used furniture and then put their own spin on it, whether it was reupholstering 2 beautiful bar stools or relacquering a coffee table. So it was really a rebuild story, how they
Yes.
were repurposing a piece of furniture or multiple pieces of furniture, talked to the theme of sustainability and upcycling, and also showcasing that Restore is a resource for the design
Yeah.
community as well as me and you and anyone who wants to
That's
shop secondhand
awesome.
goods.
That's awesome. And so then those displays are up for the couple of days of the conference, right?
They were, and those pieces were auctioned
Ah,
during the show. So we're going to do a similar concept this fall in October, and we will have 10 designers, each kind of taking the spotlight to design a small space, but we're adding some new elements to it. So
fun.
we're making it a design competition, juried with also a People's Choice. And this year, we're actually trying to make it about emerging designers. So professionals who've been in the industry less than 5 years, who
Love it.
sometimes don't get those opportunities to be the main lounge designer or the main stage designer, but who equally were really trying to foster that level of talent as well.
Wow. Okay. So we are recording at the end of June. Your event is in October. are those opportunities already spoken for, or are there opportunities left? Because literally people are like, wait.
We're actually doing a casting call, if you will, because there will be a content series overlaid to it. So we will be doing a casting call in early July, and they are
Okay.
available. And then designers will have, less than 4 months to kind of pull their space together. We'll help support them with a selection of vendors that they can source from. We'll also have some mentors. So because this is an emerging designer initiative, we want to have some esteemed established designers who have offered to really mentor and coach and project lead. So it's a good way to connect established and emerging design trade professionals.
I love all this, Megan. Great ideas. And I'm just going to say, I don't know the air date of this episode as we're talking. So if it's already past this casting call, then keep it in mind for next year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we definitely are building upon it. So we're planning to really keep it moving each year.
Exactly. Now, a couple of questions around that, because what's interesting is in all of my conversations in real life and on the podcast, that emerging designer, I have seen, two different versions of the emerging designer under 5 years. I have seen, if we just take the criteria of in business under 5 years, it's not a lot, but I have met a handful that are just head and shoulders above the others, that their design is elevated out of the gate. Their business chops is more savvy out of the gate. And often I'll be like, wait, you're in business only 4 years and we're having this kind of a conversation and that's your portfolio, right? But then I also see the ones where, yes, potential, it's all there. It's coming, it's your first 5 years. So as your selection committee looks at this, are you looking for those like really cream of the crop in this up to 5 years? Or is it like, hey, it's equal opportunity. Like we're not that crazy about this. It's just up to 5 years.
Well, we have a vetting committee that will be doing interviews and casting.
Okay.
So we're definitely selective. We only have 10 spaces, and we hope that we'll have more interest than that, given our reach and the organizations and design schools and alumni communities that we work with. So we want the designers to get something out of this. If they're already so established, maybe the benefit is they're a little bit less. So we're looking for designers who are looking to grow their business, have the capacity to take on new clients, but are oftentimes small shop or sole proprietors, right? They're launching their business or new to the business, and established, but not yet fully established, whereas they'll benefit.
Got it. Now, how does it, so the translation to the initiative to hopefully connect them with potential clients, that comes because that Saturday the public is coming through. I can see them doing a good job and having a particular brand notice, to your one point that you made. Somebody gets on, like some brand walks by and is like, oh, that's some great talent. And she used, some of our ideas or our pieces or whatever. Let's collaborate. But actual conversion to clients, that's because the public coming through gets to see those vignettes?
It is. It's because of the public, but it's also the other trade audience, right? We have media coming through. We have, people coming through. It's eyes on talent. And how can anybody who sees that designer think, oh, wow, I might be the editor of this magazine, but my sister's looking for a designer or so-and-so. It's really such an interconnected world. And we have to think beyond just that one homeowner and how it extends. But to that point, LuAnn, I have a great story that I learned yesterday. One of the designers who was involved with our rebuild rooms last year met a brand who was an exhibitor. She had known of him through social media, but she saw that he was doing a designer vignette, went over, introduced herself, and those two co-founded an organization earlier this month called ALMA, which is the Alliance for Latino Makers and Artists. So you may have heard of APTA, the Asia Pacific Islander Design Alliance, but there are a lot of organizations that have established recently to foster talent in a certain community where they've felt underserved or they don't have the support, underrepresented, right? So
The eyes on them, eyeballs on them,
right,
right?
right.
Yeah.
So they established an organization that is already just blowing up here in LA anyway, and I'm sure it's going to go national. But that meeting came about as a result of a WestEdge contact,
It's
and they'll
amazing.
be involved this year again. That exhibitor is coming back as a renewing exhibitor, and this designer is going to be involved on behalf of the organization because we're going to help give them a platform, a
Wow.
networking reception, a panel talk, things like that to really give voice to that group.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that success story. That's great. I'd like to talk to you today about Design Assist. If you've ever had the thought, I have too much work and not enough help, hello, who hasn't? This is for you. Design Assist provides virtual assistant support for you, interior designer, but these are not your garden variety virtual assistants. No, these are trained junior designers with 4-year degrees and a minimum of 4 years of real live industry experience. They handle CAD, rendering, sourcing, presentations, procurement, the real work that moves your projects forward. In fact, I have chairman of the board clients, one with 1 year in business, one with 2 year in business, using Design Assist as their very first hire. I also have another chairman of the board who is 10 years in her own firm, 20 years experience with a team of 7 who added a Design Assist designer and immediately increased her team's productivity. So if you want the full story and exactly how these amazing little magical fairies VAs work, then I highly encourage you to listen to episode 1127, where the CEO of Design Assist, Reed Humphrey, explained all of the value and the benefit of Design Assist. Listen, systems create freedom. The right support changes everything. Learn more. Go to designassist.com/podcast. Great. So, okay. So now when we go back to the tactical, so I'm a designer, I'm in business 2 years, 20 years, it doesn't matter. I've never thought about any kind of strategy around, going to a trade show. So we've got the, look to see who you have accounts with that are going to be there. If you've never met them eyeball to eyeball, then maybe initiate that. We also have the strategy of the accounts that you'd like to be associated with, that you'd like to open accounts with and things. Are there other ideas that you have regarding this way where you would look at a designer who has maybe been to the last 3 or 4 trade shows and has enjoyed themselves and has discovered some value, but doesn't do it with intention? Is there something you'd say, hey, these couple of things? Anything else that comes to mind, or did we?
I think it's also individual as well, right? What are the pain points of that individual designer? We've heard a lot from designers about the need for mentorship.
Mm.
And the organization I just mentioned to you, Alma, is establishing itself for that purpose. But one thing we're doing this year, we're hosting a panel, but then we're doing a networking mixer where it's Meet Your Mentor, where we'll have a group of people who are wanting to mentor, who are
Wow.
wanting to give back. And then they'll be matched, even if it's, the mentees or prospective mentees wearing a green wristband and the mentor is wearing I know it sounds a little cheesy, but
But you got to
sometimes that
know,
sort of
right? Yeah.
structure, and I know I've had times in my career where I really have I've had good mentors, but then I've also thought, oh gosh, this is lonely. I'm a solopreneur. I wish I had a better resource for this or that, or something to do with my
Yeah.
business. So things like that, where you can stay abreast of what we're doing on the special event and programming schedule and pick and choose, what do you think is going to be of most value to you? But
Mm-hmm.
I think, to go back to your question, it really depends on what that designer is needing at that
Yeah.
stage in their career. But I think the programming is one thing to be, making sure you're in the room, but also extending it beyond that with some of the special events and the networking opportunities that we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to create.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if I really take at its core that bit of advice, it's kind of reflect first. What do you need before you go to a place? You know, what are you missing? Are you missing mentorship? Are you missing good trade accounts? Are you missing education on a particular topic that they're going to be featuring? Like, are you missing visibility? Like that advice right there is to sit and figure out what's your gap right now. And maybe don't just attend a trade show or a conference and hope it comes into your path, but see how you can manufacture getting that information during that visit, right?
And I would say to that point, our team is very open to ideas like that. So we
Oh,
do a survey after each show. We try to do surveys and focus groups where we say, what are the conversations that you want to be hearing more about? So if a designer recognizes what they're missing, I would say by all means reach out too. I'd love to hear that personally, because maybe there's a way that we have something in the works, and if we don't, how can we develop something where we're serving the audience that we want to be serving?
yeah, I love it. So tell me details about this year's event. The dates are October 29th or something.
October 29th through the 31st. We
Mm-hmm.
open on a Thursday evening. We do a media preview and a couple VIP events earlier in the day, but we kick off. The doors open at 6 o'clock and the whole venue is activated. So our opening night party is throughout the whole space. We had 2,500 people at our opening night party last year.
Wow.
Really, really fun. Hospitality stations, DJ, outdoor lounge. Again, it's a benefit for Habitat for Humanity on opening night. And then the
Wow.
main show days are Friday and Saturday. And this year we happen to coincide with Halloween on Saturday. So we will be leaning into that. We've got some really fun ideas for Halloween. Yeah, 10 to 6 on both of the Friday and the Saturday.
Very nice. And how does the structure do you pay one ticket to get in? Do you pay, like, I want to go to the opening party, but I don't want to go to that? Or how does that work, Megan?
Yeah. So the opening night party is a higher price ticket because it includes open bars, fast food, all of those good things, and it's a charitable cause.
Mm-hmm.
Our opening night party is $135.
It's
And
reasonable.
then for design trade, we actually we have complimentary admission so long as there's a pre-registration. So, and we count design students as design trade too. So
Oh, nice.
design students, design trade professionals are able to receive a complimentary badge so long as they pre-register by our cutoff date, which is normally a week out. And then
Okay.
if you're a homeowner, you would buy a ticket, and that's $25 for a one-day pass. We do sell a run of show pass that includes the opening night party and so on.
Okay. So I'm a designer thinking about coming. If I want to go to the opening night, I'm going to pay a fee, which by the time you cover food and gives a donation to Habitat, that's a reasonable amount of money, I have to say. But if I just want to show up for the trade show this Friday and Saturday, I'm a designer, I'm in. It's no
Yeah,
fee.
yeah. No fee as so long as there's a pre-registration.
Pre-registration,
If
right?
you miss that cutoff date, then there is a ticket
You're
price.
going to pay, right? Because then you're
Yeah.
torturing them, right? They're torturing you. We all know what that's called. That's the PETA fee, right?
Exactly.
It's like
Exactly.
you knew about this for 6 months and you still didn't register. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
But
Okay. Now it's at a airplane hangar. And is that what it's called? An airplane hangar? Did I
yeah,
say it
it's
right?
called the Barker. It's called the Santa Monica Airport, which is also known here as the Barker. No, that's not John Wayne. This is not a public airport.
Not actually.
It's
Okay.
it's the private airport. Harrison Ford crashed his plane there several years ago, if
Oh,
anybody remembers that
geez.
news story. But anyway, the Santa Monica Airport is also known as the Barker Hangar, and that's where
Okay.
we run the event. So it's right in Santa Monica. We work with 2 host hotels. It's a great time of year to be in Santa Monica. So I
Yeah.
would say make a weekend of it. Enjoy some warm weather for any of people coming from the East Coast or
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot happening in LA these days. So it's definitely worth checking out some of the other parts parts of the area.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was what I was going to. It's not attached to any hotel, but you have hotels that you recommend and blah blah blah. And
We
of
do.
course, I know that area. My both of my stepsons live not far from Santa Monica, so there are quite a bit of nice places to stay there. Of course, I mean it's
Yeah, there
LA.
are.
You can always find a nice place to put your
There
head.
are. There are.
Okay, I'm trying to think. What did I not ask you about the like if you're just saying, "No, I need a designer to understand this," or "This is a compelling,"
Yeah. I mean,
you
we
know?
didn't talk as much about the kind of brands that are on
Oh,
display. And
good. So
so
tell me about that.
maybe, yeah, maybe um, we try to segment the categories. So we're never going to be overwhelmingly a kitchen show or a hardwood floor show. We really try to make sure there's a nice representation in various verticals. So, outdoor furniture, hardwood flooring, rugs, kitchen appliances. We have a whole section called Made Modern,
Mm,
which is probably one of the most exciting aspects of the show. I think designers so often are looking for those heirloom quality pieces that they're discovering an artist or a maker who's doing something super cool in their small studio, and maybe not the kind of brands that are advertising or have the big budgets for marketing, but who are creating the wow statement pieces. So
oh,
when
that's
you
cool.
go into a space and you see a beautiful hand blown chandelier, it's that sort of piece. It's the beautiful console table that's hand carved by a woodworker,
Wow.
who can tell you where they sourced the wood and what the inspiration behind the piece was. And normally it's a small company, right? It's somebody,
Yes.
a 5 people, 10 people working in their shop. So that section is really very popular because they're the sort of pieces that we call them the wow statement pieces of
Yeah.
a design project.
Yes. And they're also the non-shoppable pieces.
Well, we say they're shoppable. We say everything is shoppable
No, I mean
because
like the person isn't gonna the consumer isn't gonna go on the internet and go, "This is on sale for $22 and you charge
right.
me 4,000." Like, stop.
Yeah, there are a lot of times limited edition, custom commissions,
Yes.
but it's important for us to say everything is shoppable, and those artists would love to take a special commission and work with you to kind of craft
Yeah.
it a slightly different way, a slightly different
Yeah.
size. So I think that's a really exciting part of the show.
Yeah.
But we
So
are
let me
seeing.
clarify before you move on. So when I said shoppable, I meant the consumer can't shop the designer. When you meant shoppable, did you mean if you see some of these unique pieces, the vendors are willing to sell them from the show floor after the show is done to you? Like you can
Uh
say, I
huh.
want that piece. I want to take that
Yeah.
home. When you're done, ship it to me.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Love
We
it.
and we encourage that. It's interesting. We've got a lot of international brands. And if you were to ask them, hey, is this available? Sometimes they would much rather not ship it back.
Right.
I have a funny story. We had a UK brand does these beautiful grills. It's called Blaze. You might know of them. My husband had his eye on one of the grills and said, do you think that they would sell it to me after the show? So he kept kind of going back. He made friends with the guys. He went back on Saturday and said, hey guys, what are you doing with this? And they said, sorry, Lady Gaga's team came through yesterday and cleaned out our entire booth. So I said, oh, I'm sorry, Christian. I don't think we could have competed. We couldn't have afforded it anyway. And obviously, Lady Gaga's a better success story for them. But everything, there's a shopability to WestEdge, and we like to encourage that. And even if it's not that piece per se, if
Yes.
if an attendee sees something from this Made Modern section of the fair, all of those artists are open and wanting to take commissions and to
Yeah.
create limited edition pieces and to do custom work too.
That's exciting. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a win-win, right? Because now the thing has got to get shipped back to wherever the heck it came from. It's packaging. It's more, even from a standpoint of the globe, right? Like all of that nonsense when it can just go to the end user somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome. That's awesome. And then how about this year's programming lineup? Are there any particular panels that you're particularly looking forward to, or speakers that are coming that have been invited and have committed already?
Yeah, we do. And we're not at liberty just yet to announce our
Okay.
programming. We will
Okay.
publish that in August. So I would
Okay.
encourage you to check back. But our theme this year is all about the future of living. And so a couple kind of sneak peeks, aging in place. How are we
Mm,
designing to stay in our homes longer? Health and wellness is a big conversation point. We all know people are biohacking and spending money on this and that to try to look and feel and stay younger.
yes.
We're also, of course, talking about AI, and not that that's, I think we've all realized AI is never going to replace creativity, but how can
Right.
we use certain tools to be more efficient in our business? All the things that people don't like to do, whether
Yeah.
that's bookkeeping or this or that. So how are we using technology in the design industry as business owners? But yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff. We'll have 10 different panel talks, and our panels are Friday and Saturday.
Wow.
So yeah, that will be announced in August.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so we'll have to make sure we come back and check that out when the lineup is listed. That's outstanding. All right. And then, of course, like you said, Josh is running that stage for you and organizing those talks and panels. And I just think he's top shelf. So I'm sure,
He's
you know,
great. Yeah, he always has very thoughtful conversations, and of
exactly.
course, as you know, those are produced as podcasts
Yeah.
afterwards. So
Yeah.
people, if they can't make it out to the show, they can always tune in after the event to hear some of the content.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So is there a limited number of attendees? Is that a thing? Or, like, in other words, if I'm thinking of going, is there any reason that other than not waiting too long to be able to come for free, but is there anything like that or it's not that crazy?
No, so we don't limit because there's kind of an even flow. We do a
Yeah.
couple special events. So we are working with several industry organizations that will have limited capacity. We'll do kind of a first look preview with two partner organizations, Powerhouse Smart and Women in Luxury Design, host kind
Oh,
of a sneak peek first look on Thursday with a limit to 100 tickets for that. And then we're also in talks with another partner to create a symposium on Thursday before our opening night party. So there are a few special events within the broader event that will have
yes.
limited capacity, but the whole show, when you buy a ticket, it's not dictated that you're coming at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. So it's a kind of a nice flow. And the Barker Hangar definitely has the capacity to accommodate, the more the merrier, so to
That's
speak.
awesome. So Powerhouse Smart, Wendy Cohen?
Yeah, Wendy Cohen has been involved with the show for the
Oh,
last 3
I
years.
didn't. I did the keynote for one of her conferences in Chicago. It was pre-COVID, so I don't know if it was 18 or 19, but she runs a heck of an event over at the
Oh,
Merchandise Mart too.
so great. And she and I actually were connected by my former boss when I worked at the Merchandise Mart, who's also a Chicago gal. So
Wow.
it's just a small world. But Wendy now lives in Southern California.
Yeah.
And so she has been bringing her group, her community to West Edge for the last 3 years. It's been
That's
great.
awesome. That's it.
Mhm.
I had a really, really nice time at the Powerhouse Smart conference. It was a lot of good, smart people there, a lot of thoughtful conversations in between the different sessions and so forth. And Wendy and her team were top shelf. And I remember she was splitting time between Southern California and Chicago at that point. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
she has a great community and does such a nice job with those conferences.
It's crazy how small this world is. It's
Yeah.
like, really, I'm standing here talking to you and like, it's so bonkers, right?
Yeah, 2 degrees of separation.
That's it. It's crazy. So I just think this sounds like an exciting event. And I love all the little activations, and maybe, the tickets are limited to those, but they sound really interesting and worth trying to get into and registering in time so that you can. And the things that you're doing, the initiatives within it to give designers an opportunity to spotlight their services and so forth is also really cool. I mean, I don't know. Did I leave anything out that we need to tell them about it? Because I'm like, okay, get tickets. Let's go.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We've got some videos on our website. People really do say it's a vibe. I know we hear that word all the time, but it's just it doesn't feel like you're going to a business event, even though it is a business oriented event, connecting people. It like I said, we call it the anti-trade show for a reason.
That's awesome. And as of July, is registration open, or does everything open in
Yeah,
August?
it
Okay, so
opens. Yep, our ticketing and registration page will be open by July 10th.
okay, all right. Well,
Yep.
that's awesome. So it will definitely be open by the time this airs. I can tell you that. So that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
it's been my pleasure meeting you. Meeting you, Megan. And I have to say, um, I've done my own conferences, little conferences, LuAnn Live, 3, 4 times, whatever it is, not anything of this scale. I just hats off to you, lady,
Oh,
running a
thank
big
you.
event like this. This is not to be underestimated, all the bells and whistles and all the things that go in it. Even when I, worked with Wendy that one year, and the multiple setup meetings just for the speakers. And I'm thinking, and meanwhile, you guys are coordinating brands and, load in day and load out day. And
Yeah, it
it's a
is.
lot.
It is a lot. We always say there's no business like show business, for for better or worse. It all comes together somehow, but a lot of moving parts. But we
Yeah.
love what we do.
Yeah, no, hats off to you. It's a heck of a thing that you do. And I appreciate your being here and telling us all about it today, Megan.
Thank you, LuAnn. It was so nice to chat with you.
Alrighty, so this conversation with Megan was exactly the kind of conversation I love having on this podcast because, on one hand, on the surface, it sounds like we're talking about a trade show, and WestEdge does sound pretty incredible. But really, what we're talking about here is how to build your career, right? So here's what I want you to walk away with. Megan said something early on that I haven't stopped thinking about. She said, reach gets you seen, but a room gets you remembered. Oh my goodness, right? In a world where so many of us are trying to build our businesses through social media, through posting and putting our projects on and hoping the algorithm will find us that day. That line is a gut check, isn't it? Because being seen online is not the same thing as being remembered in person. And you know what? You need to do both in your business. You really do. And what I love most about the conversation with Megan is that it didn't just talk about WestEdge. Of course, she wants us to go to it, and I think we should. But she also gave us a framework for how to walk into any trade show or industry event, High Point Market, Las Vegas Market, Sun Shading Expo, whatever it is. She taught us how to walk in with intention instead of just wandering the aisles collecting brochures. And this distinction matters. Most of the time, we do show up to these events as passive attendees. We browse, we grab some samples, maybe we catch a panel if the timing works out. And you know what? I'm all for those things. But Megan said, if you want a real return on the time and money you've been spending at trade shows and industry events, you need to go in with a plan. And it starts with something as simple as looking at the exhibitor list ahead of time and figuring out, who do you want to build a relationship with, or who do you want to strengthen a relationship with? Okay? Not just which booth you're going to walk by, but who do you want to start to become memorable to, right? Megan made the point that showing up in person, having that face-to-face contact is what carries you through when something goes sideways with an order down the road. That's not a nice to have. That's the relationship doing its job for your business, right? And then there's the part that I think probably gets overlooked, which is that these events are they're not just about attendee status. There is more than one seat at the table, Megan explained. She talked about the opportunities to get involved, whether that's as a speaker, a collaborator, a vignette designer, a juror, right? I don't think we think about that. Think about the events that do have judging. Have you ever just said, hey, this is my credibility. I'd love to be on the panel of judges for an IDS conference where they give out their awards, or ASID, or whatever it is, right? Most of us don't think about these. They don't realize that they exist. We don't even, necessarily know to knock on these doors. But having one of these roles can give you something that simply attending the event never will, which is visibility with the people who are actually running the event. I also loved hearing about the designer vignette program and how it's evolving this year to specifically spotlight emerging designers, pairing them with mentors and giving them a stage they might not otherwise have access to this early in their career. I love that. And this whole concept actually got me thinking and reminded me of a show we did last year with Juliana Ewer. And that show was based on the power of volunteerism and networking. And Juliana walked us through how she has used that as the cornerstone for building her business. And we will link Juliana's episode in the show notes if you've missed it. And then there's the story that Megan shared about the designer who met a brand at WestEdge and went on to co-found an entire industry organization together. I mean, that's what happens when you put yourself in a room with some intention, right? Who knows? You could be the next one to think of something amazing like that. Now, there's one practical takeaway I want you to sit with. It's this. Before your next trade show or conference, ask yourself, what are you missing right now? Missing personally as an interior design principal or interior designer if you're working for somebody else's firm and listening? Is it mentorship? Is it better trade accounts? Is it visibility? Is it a specific piece of education? Right? Megan is saying just show up and hope the event gives you what you need. She's encouraging us to look at our gaps first, and then try and go find and manufacture the opportunity to fill that gap while you're at that event. I think it's an awesome idea. All right. This is exactly why I make it a point to be in the rooms. Okay. It's why I went to London. It's why I'm heading to Vegas. It's why I'm heading to Greenville, South Carolina in September. It's why I'm heading to all the other blessed places I'm heading. Okay. I love it. I love it. It's not about the shopping. It's about the access. It's about the panels, the keynotes, the conversations, the things that happen while you're waiting in line for coffee. That's where you get the juice and the momentum. And I think that if you've been hesitating to go, yes, reach out to a bestie, reach out to a tour that's happening, reach out to an organizer and ask if there is volunteer opportunities for you to do while your boots on the ground there. But get in it. Get in it is the thing. And I love Megan's advice for how to do it. Now, if you feel like doing a little shopping right here on the podcast, let me talk to you about Mr. Steam, right? You know that I've noticed a few things when I talk to the interior designers that are the top of the game, right? The ones who are consistently closing high-end bathroom projects. They are specifying a reason for clients to say yes to the investment of steam and sauna. Okay. They are saying, I know that this matters to you. I know that you're out playing pickleball and yoga and running marathons, and you need to then rest and recover. And Mr. Steam is the answer for this. They have been making steam since 1917, and they have built a really ridiculously useful tool for you. It's called the Virtual Spa Tool. Now, I want you to go and play with the tool. Okay. It's free. If you've never specified steam, if you're not sure what, the value is, definitely head over and listen to Mr. Steam's episode, which will be in the show notes, but go play with the tool. You can enter your shower dimensions, your wall materials, your client's wish list, and you will get a complete specification back at list price. No back and forth, no guesswork. Just see what it would look like. Familiarize yourself with it. And of course, if you have an opportunity for a luxury consumer who is thinking about this and wants this, be the leader in the room and bring it up. Okay? Because you have active clients who are into health and fitness, and this is worth 10 minutes of your time learning more about it. Okay? So you want to go to LuAnnNigara.com/Mr. Steam. That's LuAnnNigara.com/Mr. Steam, and it will also be in the show notes. So if you've been on the fence about whether it's time to travel to an event this year, maybe this is your sign. Look at your calendar, pick one. Heck, go to LuAnnNigara.com/event, and you will find the next 5 or 6 events that I'll be at. Maybe you're going to go to WestEdge Design Fair. It runs October 29th through October 31st, 2026 in Santa Monica, California. Okay? design trade professionals such as yourself get free registration as long as you pre-register. Okay. So there's really no excuse to go if you're in the LA area. And it seems like a very good excuse to go to LA, if you ask me. All right. So I will make sure we have the links to all of these things in the show notes. Megan, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciated learning about WestEdge. I appreciated your tips for successfully attending any trade show in the industry, and a ton of respect for what you've built and the experience that you bring to it really was very, very apparent. So thank you so much. And thank you for showing up and for being here and for listening and for continuing to invest in yourself and your business. Yay, you. I'll see you next time. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.